Hey y'all, welcome back to another blind community chat. I have two guests with me this evening. I'm so excited to introduce them to you. So hang with me for just a bit. My name is Cindy. If you have not yet visited my channel before, I would love to have you part of my community and hopefully you will learn lots of tips, tricks, all that jazz. My voiceover is going crazy. Hang on just a second, y'all. Okay. And this evening, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek on our agenda. We're going to be discussing summer vacations that are accessible for the blind and visually impaired and things that you should think about when you're planning your vacations with a friend, a loved one, anyone who is a blind VIP. So hopefully this will help anybody with summer plans coming up. And and then we will discuss some of our favorite hobbies again because this is just a favorite question of mine I like asking here recently. So I'll ask my guests that at the very end. So if that's something you're interested in only, you're welcome to skip to the end if you're watching this on the replay. If this is a topic you like, guys, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and definitely check out the description box down below for my guests' channels as well, and you can visit them as well. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and get to Lauren. And Lauren, I can still hear a lot of background sound on your end. So if you, I don't know if you can turn it down um, or if your mic's in front of it.
Hold on 1 second. I did turn this off, didn't I? Yeah. This kind of coming from outside. I have no control over it.
Oh, got it. No worries. Okay. So Lauren, why don't you tell everybody who you are, your channel, and all that jazz, and you can find her link in the description box, y'all, if you want to find her channel while you listen.
Sure. So I'm Lauren. My YouTube channel is Survive by Sight, and on my channel I showcase a lot of different writing streams. You guys can come and have like a set amount of time. Usually it's anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes of writing or productivity, and I also have videos of reading the poems that I've written and tips and advice on writing, as that's something that I'm passionate about despite my blindness getting in the way. And I actually published 2 books on Amazon. It was the first
Wow,
one is
I didn't know that.
yeah. The first one is a book of poetry called Ignited Melodies,
Uh-huh.
and the second one is a uh, paranormal thriller that I wrote with my sister Nicole, and
Mm-hmm.
it's called Haunted: The Immortal Kiss. It's like book 1 of a trilogy,
Oh, cool. Okay.
and yeah, I think it's really cool. On my channel, I discuss the idea of not letting blindness get in the way, because there's that assumption that, oh, if you're blind, how can you write? How can you like edit your own work because you can't see it?
What's your vision like?
I have a little bit of functional vision, but mostly I have night blindness, and recently, um, it's been really hard for me to see anything unless it's like right in front of my face.
Yeah,
And I can't barely even read text anymore unless it's like hyper contrasted and like really 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 huge, like the size of like
same.
a building sign basically.
Yeah. And I don't know, Lauren, if you want to know or care, I was just checking myself to make sure I was centered in the frame, y'all. And Lauren, I think I only see like half of your face. I don't know if you want to scoot over or not, or if you care. We're blind, right? We all get it. I don't care, but I usually like to know that stuff. So if
Yeah.
you tend to care, hey girl, I'm just giving you a heads up. All right, hey Paul, why don't you tell everybody who you are and your channel and all that jazz?
All right. Well, Cindy, thank you for having me as a guest. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Your channel has grown immensely, and your last few live streams have been very lively and informative.
Aw,
So
thank you.
I thank you for my answering my request and inviting me as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out.
Yes, my name is Paul. I'm currently 56 years old. At the age of 52, I ended up with some routine glaucoma surgery, and to make things less complicated, I was diagnosed with glaucoma all my life.
Okay.
My left eye was basically legally blind. I basically just saw light. Maybe
Mm,
I would see the big letter E. Eventually, that dissipated, and when I was like 7 or 8, that went completely dark. The
Wow.
other,
okay.
the other eye was somewhat functional, but still had visual problems. Uh, but I was able to function, to drive, and all that. My vision at best was at 20/40 with glasses, and I think my visual field at that time was about 115 degrees. So that
Okay.
just barely made it for me to drive at night when
Right.
I turned 16. Um,
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, but at least you're still able to drive.
yes, yes, yes. I'm, you know, when I talk about my life and my struggles and everything, and I listen to other people, I am truly a blessed individual, even though I am legally blind. I'll tell
Mm,
you straight to your face that I'm blessed, and I need to, have gratitude, and that's what my channel is all about. Uh, being feeling blessed, being grateful, and geared toward empathy for anybody that out there having struggles that want to talk or reach out to me. You can come to my channel, make a comment on the video. Um, we can communicate through Messenger, whatever. But my channel is just things that are good for the soul. I think
yeah.
I became legally blind for a reason, and I think it's just for me to put positive attitude out there, because I have been on both sides of the fence where I
Mm,
was sighted somewhat,
Right.
enough to drive and get married and raise two kids and work in a factory all my life. I was
yeah.
in manufacturing all my life. I have 10 fingers and 10 toes, proudly I can say. Um,
Uh-huh.
there are people with good sight. I've known people that have lost limbs and arms and fingers, and I've also heard, I have known, but I've also heard of some people that have died with some of these presses that I used to operate. So with my vision, and I safety was not just convenience; it was safe. It was my life.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was always into safety, and I was a safety leader, and I worked with the
Mm,
company, and I used to be in the union, and I was an officer, and I did a lot of things in my life. And then come age 52, I had some routine surgery because my glaucoma pressure started activating up, and my eye collapsed and hemorrhaged, and I have permanent damage
okay.
to the optic nerve where I got some of the vision back, but it's not enough. So I'm
Yeah.
totally blind in the left eye. The right eye, my acuity at best, and glasses do not help, is
Right.
20 over 200. And my
Okay.
visual field is now less than 10 degrees. So a normal eye
Okay.
sees 180. I see only 10, and it's in the center.
Oh, so you're kind of the opposite of me. I have no central vision.
Right.
So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So you have the peripheral and I
Right.
don't, but I have the
Right.
central and you do not. So together we make things complete.
Hey, we'd
But
be a good team, Paul.
that's right. That's right.
Maybe we can
Uh,
work
s-
together and get behind a wheel.
yeah, maybe. Hey, you never know.
All
Lisa
right.
was
Well,
telling me a crazy story about some guy in the news. He was driving a Tesla in the back seat on the highway.
oh,
What?
what?
Yeah, the car was driving by itself, and he was in the back seat controlling it with his app or
Huh.
something. And
Wow.
some people called him in and pulled him over, and he got arrested.
Holy cow.
Crazy.
Well, I mean,
So,
thanks
so
for
you know,
his
if he,
bravery because now, we know it's hopefully not that far around the corner.
Right.
so
I mean,
If
that's what we want,
anything,
right? We want
I'm going to take the
self-driving cars.
positive out of that story.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
All
So,
right,
so
guys.
recent, yeah, just briefly. So recently, I created a YouTube channel 4 years ago. Is when I went legally blind. It was in February. I'll never forget it. It was February 15th, 2017, and a couple months later, I find out, my condition, and end up applying for Social Security disability and all that, and
Hmm.
created this channel. So there you go.
That's awesome. I think glaucoma too is like one of the number one reasons for sight loss,
Yeah,
right
that's
up
why
there
you,
with macular degeneration.
yes,
Right.
and it's important to go and have your eyes checked once a year,
Yes, sir.
because mine is just congenital. It's not hereditary. It's a very rare disease, and it just happened to pick me. So
Yeah.
that's why you have to have these tests done, because if you catch it early, you can kind of control it and slow it down.
Sure.
Great. Well, I'm going to check into the chat. So Ray is with us as usual. Hey, Ray, thanks for joining. And yes, sir, I am barefoot. That's a little, that is a little hidden joke between us here on the channel. So we
I'm
both love
barefoot.
to be
Actually, I'm barefoot
barefoot.
today too.
Yay! There you
Yeah,
go. Lisa B. Hey, how are
yeah.
you, girl? Let's see, and then we got okay. Uh Jordan. Is that it? Am I reading it
Jordan.
right? No,
Um.
there's an N. I was reading that. It looks like
Oh. Jean.
Gennard.
Gennardo Mark.
Yeah. Hi. I don't think I don't
Janad Mark 87.
there we go. Yeah. Okay. Hi, how
Hmm.
are you? Everyone
Somebody
say
new.
hi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to say I don't think I've seen Gennard in the chat
Oh,
before.
Jean and it's Lisa says it's Jean and Mark
Got it. Okay.
87.
Welcome. Okay. See, blind moments. We're gonna butcher names, y'all. Okay. So
Hey,
you all
sighted
get
people do it too.
yeah, well, and the funny thing is, hey, this is just more fuel for laughter because you gotta laugh at it. I mean, you just do.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
humor goes a
so
long way.
that's right. I don't care what disability is, you have to approach life with humor, especially when disabilities are involved. It just makes it a lot more bearable. So
Mm-hmm.
hello, good evening to everyone. It looks like everyone is saying hi, and I'm so glad everyone is joining us this evening. Please tell us, do you have summer vacay plans this year? COVID is finally starting to loosen up a little bit. I myself have a
Woohoo!
beach trip coming up soon, y'all. So I got my hair did, and I've got my tan going. I've been like laying out and hanging outside with the kids and trying to, try to get a little tint on my skin so I don't turn into a lobster when we go to the beach. But I'm so excited for this summer. I hope everyone will still safe, of course. Use your best judgment because we haven't beaten this thing yet. So we definitely want to make sure we're still using good judgment. But thanks to vaccines and all the stuff, things are starting to open back up and people are thinking about vacations again. And so thank you to, I'm going to give a shout out to Janet Beagle. She is a sub of mine who asked me this question about a week ago or so on the previous live stream in a comment. So I do answer and get to everyone's comments, but she asked for vacation ideas, recommendations, stuff to think about for her and her spouse, who is the VIP in their relationship. She is the sighted spouse. And so I wanted to just make a whole, as much of a live stream to give her as much information as possible. So I'm so thankful I have both you, Lauren and Paul, to kind of give us some food for thought, what to think about, and vacations that you either hope to go to or have been to that you have found very accessible options. So, in the before we really get started, though, let me just double check. Paul, do you see anything in any? If anyone has any questions, anything in the chat to address before we dive in?
Design and entertaining says they're going to Italy.
Yay! Hi, it's
Oh,
Kathleen, I think. Yes, design and entertaining, y'all. She is also sighted, and her best friend is a VIP. And so I always want to give props to sighted individuals who get involved in our blind community because they want to learn and support their friends and loved ones. And so hats off to you, girl.
yeah, that's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
Rainforest Junior Ray says he's
Yes,
going to
Ray.
Florida. He's going to
Oh, yay,
Florida.
Ray. Get those toes in the sand. That's what I
That's what
can't
he's
wait to
saying.
do. Yes. Okay.
Screen protection level should be an SPF 100. I don't know if you're all into that.
What?
The whenever you're out on the beach,
Oh, yes.
some people are really into the proper numbers that you should have for protection.
Yeah, I do, especially for my kids. I
Yeah.
do. I worked in oncology, and so I've definitely had the fear of God put in me, and so I do take it seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
I always do my best to be smart, and life can come with enough risks on its own. I don't want to
Mhm.
add to that by my own stupidity. So I do my
Well,
best to do what I can to keep myself and my family safe. So yes, screen protection all the way, y'all. And I always make sure my husband reads to me the expiration date because I did not realize like I used to save my sunscreen bottles, just from year to year. If I didn't use the whole bottle one year, I would save it for the next. I did not realize this until maybe the last year or two that they expire. And I don't know about you guys, but again, I don't want to risk it. If there's an expiration date, then I don't want to take that chance that maybe some of the elements, the ingredients are no longer effective. And
Right.
so make
Or
sure
or
you
that or that it might not even work at all if it's expired.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something as a blind person, I never knew those bottles had expiration. I don't know what has expiration dates. They never dawned on me to ask anybody, like, hey, by the way, can you tell me, is this expired or not? I don't know how
hmm
long it's been in my drawer, kind of thing. So better safe than sorry. Go out buy a new bottle every year if you need to.
Yeah.
But that would, I guess, there you go. First tip of the night right there. If you're going to the beach, I think many blind VIPs definitely love the beach because we love to hear the ocean. We love to feel the sand between our feet and our toes. And it's such a delicious smorgasbord of sensations that is not dependent on our vision, if you will. So I definitely would always, I think all of us would say, hey, let's go to the beach, right? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it's so funny. Like I feel like I'm the odd one out. Like I like the beach. I just can't do the heat. If it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
60 or 70 and I can go to the beach, then I will. But
Hmm.
hmm Well,
the,
then
the
the northern west coast would be your bag.
Why is that?
because like the Oregon coast is like the most pristine coastline that, in my opinion, because it's more than just ocean. It's cliffs and rocks and boulders in the ocean with waves
Hmm.
crashing over them, and they still have a beach area for you to explore. And the temperatures there are 60 to 70 degrees. Very
Oh, there you go.
rarely, very rarely does it get above 80 um, on
That
the
sounds
West Coast.
nice.
That
And
sounds.
in the
Yeah.
winter time,
San Diego, I mean, for that reason, I'm like the San Diego area. I feel like every time I've been there, it's always been pretty mild, temperate, and always kind of breezy, but still beautiful beaches. San Diego is I think a really excellent place. And all the areas that I was in San Diego, there were lots of ramps, so there weren't a lot of stairs. I don't know about you guys, but as a blind VIP, sometimes I just can't whip that cane out fast enough, and it's steps that can be where I really struggle visually. Figuring out where they start and where they end. And but there they had so many ramps, and it just seemed the beaches were always very easily accessible in San Diego. So if anybody has not been to San Diego, I found it to be a very accessible beachy destination. And Lauren, I mean, for those who don't like the extra heat, like what you would find maybe on the East Coast, I would highly recommend that for that reason.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I would definitely look into that.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's going on in the chat?
Design had a question. I don't really understand it, but she was asking you a question, Lisa.
No, she asked a question to you, but I answered it.
Uh,
Sweet.
she wanted she wanted to know about how to subscribe to our channels.
Okay.
No,
If
Wait, wait,
well,
hold on, Cindy. I don't.
okay.
she wants to mention Cindy's channel to her friend, but she doesn't know how to approach it.
Oh, okay. She want.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know if you
okay.
heard that.
Okay. Kathleen, I think so. So this is the friend, guys, that is Design and Entertain, which by the way is an awesome channel. She is such a cool, laid back, just DIY kind of channel, very fun. And her friend is blind. If you will have that close friend dynamic, and she seems open, she is willing to discuss it, I would just say, flat out say, like, hey, I found this channel. It's helped me a lot. I would, maybe we can, you can check out one of her videos. We could talk about it together, and how much it relates to you, and do I
Mm-hmm.
need to do anything different? And I would approach it almost from like an educational point of like, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly or whatever. Or hey, I saw this video on this channel, and just you could reference it that way. But
9 times out of 10, just let it out.
yeah, because the majority of
Just
us,
yeah.
like Paul said, let it out. We would almost rather people ask and go there than hide it and
Yeah.
bury it.
Or not want to ask any of the questions because you're afraid you're going to ask it the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that helps. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? Any other destinations people are going to this summer? Let's see. I am trying to just to.
Oh, somebody's going to Disneyland tomorrow. Gene. Gene's.
Stop.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I'm so
I want
jealous.
to go.
I know, I've heard they've even lifted the mask mandate in some areas. I don't know if it's a smart thing, but
Yeah,
I mean, life's getting back to normal. So, I mean,
it's nice to
Disney,
see
I'm
that.
sure is going to be so fantastic. We've been thinking about we're trying to pinpoint a year of what, like, is it going to be next year, the year after, that we'll take our kids to it. That was going to actually be one of my questions. Let's go ahead and go there. So, as a blind VIP, would you go to Disney, like the Disney World or Disneyland, either one, the actual like land based, or do the Disney cruise? Because I've heard cruises can sometimes be a little bit more accessible, not as much, opportunities and for getting lost, and it doesn't seem quite as chaotic. I've heard on some of the cruises. So, but what do you all think? Have either of you all been on a cruise or been on a Disney cruise? What do you think?
I've um I've I've always wanted to go on a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully one day I'll do that. But
Same.
um, if it has to do something with Disney, I won't do it.
Really?
I'm
Is
not
it
into Disney.
I'll do
No,
you're
it
not
for
into
you.
Disney? It's just not your thing, Paul.
no, no, no,
What about you,
no,
Lauren?
no.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because in the beginning of March, I went to visit my sister who lives near Santa Barbara, California, and
Uh huh.
we tried to do Disneyland. There were some parts of the park that were open, just the area where the rides weren't open, and like every 5 minutes, we always had somebody coming up to me and my sister Nicole, who's also blind, and asking like if we needed help, if we needed assistance getting to where we were going. So like I said, like the shops and everything were still open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lisa doesn't believe it. She thinks she can't believe it that I don't like, Disneyland or Disney World, and she's like, what are you, communist or something? But I
That's
never, I never was really into it. You know, growing up as a child, I was a Hanna Barbera fan,
oh yeah.
Yogi Bear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was more into that and Tom and Jerry and those characters. I wasn't into Mickey Mouse. I cannot stand Mickey Mouse. I'm sorry.
Hey, hey, to each their own, man. I mean,
Uh,
I mean, if it, I
but
think
if
it's
it's a cruise
different.
and it's free, maybe
I think it's
maybe I'll
different
do.
if you have
Yeah,
little kids because it's one of those things where you almost have
yeah.
to enjoy it vicariously through them because I
Hmm.
have to say, I'm sure when my kids get older and hopefully someday when I'm a grandma, I'd say the last place I'd feel like going probably is going to be Disney too. I don't know. But for me,
Hmm.
Disney, I went to Disney, I don't know, it was probably like 10 years ago. It's been a while, and I was visually impaired about, I was probably 20 over 400 or 20 over 800 or so at the time.
Hmm.
And for me, it was, well, definitely triggered headaches because it was just bright, sunny days, just tons of visual stimulation all day long. So at night, I
Yes.
remember getting the headache. And then,
Mm.
but I just remember all that it just came across as just so much visual chaos that I felt like I couldn't appreciate anything because there was just too,
Mm.
it was like too much my brain couldn't make sense of. And my eyes, because I have no central vision, it's kind of like I could tell there's like stuff, but it takes me forever to make sense of it. And I have to get up
Yes.
really, really close to like for my
To
brain to
see
kind of
it, yeah.
piece it together. Yeah, and figure out, the beauty of what it is I'm looking at. And so with for Disney, yeah, it was fun. It was great, but I don't think I got quite the appreciation out of it that than, of course, all my sighted family members at the time. But it was still wonderful. It was very clean. And they definitely had lots of accessibility options. I was able to get a pass that allowed us to skip the lines. And
Nice.
yeah, and I'm like, you know what? If there were times when we chose to use it, and there were times when we chose not to use it because I didn't want to abuse it. For example, if I
Hmm.
saw there were lots of people with actual physical disabilities, they literally could not stand in the long lines,
Hmm.
then you deserve this more than me at this point because I can physically stand in lines. But if it was one of those rides where it was like a visual thing and I needed to be in the front row, so if it was like one of those 3D videos, or one of those where you sit in a chair and there's a screen in front of you or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, that is where my impairment is clearly going to say, okay, y'all, I'm sorry, I get first dibs on front row and center. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
um,
Right. Like I need it.
yeah, I mean, and that's what it's there for. So I definitely am try to be respectful of everyone with a disability and keep that in mind as far as okay,
Mm-hmm.
do I have the right to be using to waive my pass right now or not, kind of thing. And so I try to use my best judgment and be fair to all, because that park is so packed. At least it was packed then, and I'm sure it probably still is. All right.
Well,
So,
I plan on seeing my friend, old high school friend from grade school.
uh-huh.
I haven't seen him in 40 years. I found him about a year ago, and we were gonna hook up and see each other. And But then COVID hit. So now, in a very short while, I'll be seeing my best friend from grade school, out in Virginia.
Mm,
He lives out in
that is
Virginia.
so cool.
So I haven't
Virginia,
seen him
man,
in,
it's gonna get hot there pretty soon. If
yeah,
it's not
I
already.
yeah, I that's why we picked May, because it's not as bad, but I hear there's
Yeah.
going to be a little bit of a maybe possible heat wave happening, but
Yeah, I'm in Tennessee and we're getting ready to hit triple digits here pretty soon.
Oh my.
and
Yeah,
then I
it's
think the
it's a
fourth
heat
of,
wave. Yeah, there's a heat wave coming through the southeast. Yep.
and then
Get
I
ready,
think
y'all.
around 4th of July, nothing's etched in stone right now, but I think Lisa and I are going to go down to, close to you, Cindy, by Paducah, Kentucky.
Oh yeah, yeah, there you go.
There's
Yeah.
a town northwest of there, close to the river. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Devin, Devon, maybe. I could be
There's
wrong.
so many little creeks, rivers. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many to go through
So
Kentucky.
we want to explore that little area, and then the southern tip of Illinois, and then the other
Yeah.
side where Missouri is.
That's awesome.
There's an area there that has all kinds of scenery, rocks and cliffs, and
Yeah.
yeah. So we're
Kentucky is a very beautiful state. It's not very accessible, but it's a very beautiful state.
Yeah. So what Lisa and I like to do, because of our age,
Yeah.
we do trips where we like to be the locals.
Yes.
We like to enter a
Like
town,
immerse yourself.
and just really get into the town, and just act like a local and do local things and just get a vibe for the area.
Very cool.
That's what my husband and I love to do. Our favorite vacations are always in Europe, and our honeymoon we toured 11 different countries, and that
Wow.
was always our approach. Like when I say, "Oh yeah, we've been to Italy," and everyone's like, "Oh, did you go see did you go to Venice? Did you go to?" And I'm like, "No, we never really go to like the highly like the touristy towns. Like if it's the town that the country is known for, no, we've never been there." Because we're
And
like that. We want to go to the outskirts and get into what the locals, get
Oh.
the true authentic Italy. We don't want the tourist traps. We don't want all the hype and kind of commercialized
mhm,
and
mhm,
all the,
mhm.
people trying to sell you
Yeah,
stuff on the side of the
we
road.
just like to dive in, and try the different foods, and
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, and
where's
yeah,
a great place to eat at, and
right.
just
That's
really embrace,
awesome.
and music too, music events,
Yes,
and
yes,
festivals, and just it's just amazing how big this country is, and how variety there is in
Mhm.
this country. So go out there and explore. And I
that's right. Yeah,
recommend going to Oregon. Definitely go to Oregon.
Oregon.
Any Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere on the West Coast there in Oregon. My favorite spot is Bandon,
Oh,
which
okay.
is north of Brookings, but south of Newport. It's kind of like in between Newport and Brookings. That's my favorite, and it's called Table Rock Beach. And I've done a
Ooh.
couple videos there on the beach. So if you go to my channel, you'll see I do a little walk on the beach, and you get a firsthand look.
Oh,
Me
cool.
and the cane going
Wow.
through, trying to navigate the rocks and the water, and trying to get you some good shots. So I hope you check that out and enjoy. But definitely go there for vacation. You won't regret it. The food is amazing. The fish. They have
Yeah.
a native fish there called rock fish, and they're very
Ooh.
similar to haddock um, fish, and it's wonderful fish and chips there in Bandon.
I love fish and chips. That's like one of my favorites.
Yep.
What about you, Lauren? What's some of the places that you've been to that you really had a great experience being a blind VIP?
That's a good question. I think when I went with my family to Myrtle Beach, there was a lot of places that you could
Mm,
walk to. Um,
okay.
now bear in mind that we were not that far from the beach. So I think that's why there were some places you could do.
Yeah.
Um, but it was nice being able to walk from the beach from where we were staying, and then you could just like basically if you wanted to stay at the beach all day long.
Yeah. You know, I
And
think I think it's so funny. So sometimes when I'm with people on vacation and everyone knows putt putt. I mean, everybody there's putt putt everywhere you
yeah.
go. And I always feel like people are hesitant to mention or like, hey, let's go do putt putt when I'm with them. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, why don't we all blindfold ourselves and go putt putt? You know, it's like you can do blind bowling, putt putt. You can do and
Oh
make it
yeah.
a fun
Yeah.
thing. So I always encourage everybody that, if you go on these vacations, just because you have a blind VIP, but still do all those sighted things, still do everything
Yeah.
you would want to do, but include them in a way that make it inclusive and try to make
Mhm.
it as comfortable for everybody, but still do it because it almost makes it more awkward if you're trying to come up with things to do and it's like, well, there's 8 putt-putts around us. What can we do? And it's
That's like a
it's just
sign
that much.
saying, "Try me."
And
So
incidentally, those people that don't know what putt putt is, it's just miniature golf.
Yep.
yes,
We
yeah,
call it
it's
we call it miniature golf.
okay. Miniature golf.
Us old
Yes,
folks.
yes,
Us old
miniature golf.
folks.
Yeah.
uh,
Thank you, Paul, for
yeah.
keeping us real.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
when you get people my age coming on the channel, they'll be like, "What's putt putt? I've
I
never heard of that."
appreciate that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So, Janet, the sub that I was talking to you all about earlier, I think she mentioned that her and her husband, back when he had vision, loved to go hiking and such like that. And I was like, but not so much anymore. And I was like, yeah, I totally get it. I used to love hiking, but now that I've lost significant vision, hiking, even though I love being in nature, I love the
Mhm.
idea of it, I miss it. It is so much more of a visual frustration and hassle for me that I don't always enjoy
Sure.
myself as much because of roots and limbs and y'all
Yeah.
get it. So I got to thinking, I'm like, I used to horseback ride as a child, and I think it would be so fun. You see those horse tours, and it's not for everybody, but it is an option to consider if you all are wanting to do the nature trail kind of thing. You might
Mm-hmm.
look into maybe doing one of those horseback riding things because
Yeah.
being on the back of a horse, no vision needed. They usually know exactly where to go and where to step. But I think it would be a really cool experience to feel the animal under you, their gait, and really sit back and relax and actually be able to enjoy the nature around you, not having that visual frustration and navigating the difficult terrain. So if anyone is wanting to pursue that, that is just an option I'm going to throw out there as a suggestion and an idea to explore. Hopefully, someone can use that tip. Anybody, do you two? Did that inspire
That,
any ideas on your end?
well, by me, there's a farm by me that they do horses for therapeutics.
Yes, yes.
So people
Therapeutic.
that are
Uh-huh.
have anxiety, people that are
Yes.
disabled, people
Mm-hmm.
that are wheelchair bound or blind or hearing impaired or have anxiety issues, they have a farm for individuals to do therapy with these animals and
Yeah,
ride. Yeah, yeah. It's not.
yeah.
It's a
It's awesome.
nice farm. They do that. Hmm.
Yeah,
Private local farm.
I would just say like if you live in like a big city, it might be hard to find places like that are close enough to you within
Mm-hmm.
public transportation. Because I feel like that was the hardest thing that I was having trouble
Uh,
finding. Because it's
Yeah.
something my sister wanted to do, and it's like the closest place to go that offers like therapeutic horseback riding was like an hour away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think when push comes to shove, the bigger the city, the better, because usually cities, unfortunately, that's where you have most of the accessibility
yeah.
options and
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
mass transit. And, there's always Lyft and Uber. Someone's always driving, but when you do go to the smaller rural areas, that's when it starts to get a bit dicey and difficult to manage. So I think if you're looking for a more stress-free thing, like you can check out Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, some of those bigger things like
Yeah.
Philadelphia has so much historical stuff that's fun. My husband hates the whole like cliche like the horses that pull the buggies and you do like a little tour around and the guide tells you like and here
I don't
King
know. I think that's
Henry stayed for.
fun.
I love them too, Lauren, and I
Yeah.
don't know if
They're
and
nice.
I you know what I'm like I'll always tell the guide like hey I'm visually impaired if you see any cool architecture like tell me, describe it, tell me the
Yeah.
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 colors, don't, include stories and stuff like that. But please don't say over here and then point over there. And,
Hmm.
you know, I try to,
They.
I
Yeah. They.
communicate with your guide prior to
Hmm.
it because it will enhance your experience, guys. If you're doing a guided
Huh.
tour of any kind, they love feedback every bit as much as
You
because
do. Yeah.
it improves their service. But how do they know what what
Yeah. Unless you
style and how to
advocate.
communicate with us until we tell them? So I always
Yeah.
tell everyone advocate, let them know, hey, this is the kind of guided tour that I would love to have and that I would get the most experience out of. If you could do this,
Mm-hmm.
great. This is how you'd earn your tip with me, sir. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Right.
that's how you do it, guys, but it will improve those experiences tenfold if you just be upfront and honest with them in the very beginning.
Those buggy rides, they're that's a smaller, intimate guide tour.
Yes.
So you could
Yes.
really, you know,
Yeah,
get
you can get
good
more
feedback.
one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to briefly tell this story. And Paul, if you can let me know if anyone has any questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking so much. It's wonderful. Um, but it makes it so hard for me to keep up with it. So Paul, I'll let y'all just let me know if there's any questions or anything that we need to address in that chat. But I wanted to tell this one story because we were in, I think it was Scotland, and my husband and I were on our honeymoon, and we were touring one of the castles, which if you have not completely mastered O&M mobility orientation mobility training, I there's a lot of castles I would not recommend because it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
There's no way you can really make those completely safe without destroying the historical value there. So, but there was this one castle we went through that was intact and it was beautiful and it was grand. And it was one of those things where, you'd walk into this big room and there would be, someone there every 10 minutes cycling through a speech of, and here's all this dress and this is a style, blah, blah, blah. And then you go into another room and we went to this one, it was like this big, great hall. And over the hearth were all of these weapons.
Ooh.
And it was so interesting. And I could tell this guide, I mean, he had the whole Scottish brogue going, you all. I was just like, I was sucked in. I'm like, oh, sir, you got me. But at the
Yeah.
we were, because of how we entered the hall, we were at the very, very end, at the very, very back. So I'm like, I'm completely lost, but I'm hanging on every word. Well, my husband, he urged me, he's like, if this was really interesting, there were a lot of visual elements to this room. Why don't you ask him if you can go up and get closer and if he can just recap some of the things for you, because there was not a class after us. So I went up there and I told him, sir, I'm visually impaired. I'm sorry, I really could not visually see any of the details that you were speaking of, because there were inlays in the weapons and such, and a lot of detail. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, he pulled back the like rope. He said, here, come follow me. Took me straight up there.
Yes.
He grabbed my hand and he said, okay, I'm going to put your hand exactly on the inlays that I am
That's
speaking of.
awesome.
He held my hand in a way that was very respectful. It wasn't like aggressive where it was like his hand over mine, like you grab someone
Yeah.
out
Mm-hmm.
of defensive. He did it underhanded so that my hand felt free. And it was, I mean, he was so on point. I could tell he had worked with someone in the community before and had lots of experience, because he knew exactly the touch that I needed, the type of detail and description that I needed. And he gave me my own personal recap on everything by touch.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
I bet he got a big tip.
so, oh yes, sir. I mean, it is the one thing, that the standout moment that I remember the most out of the entire honeymoon. I mean, 11 different countries.
Wow.
And that was the thing that I remembered the most, because he got down on my level and he made
Yeah.
it accessible. So again, that's where I'm like, I had no idea that if I just told these guides, like, hey, here's my impairment, can you work with me? It would open up that many more experiences for me. So I just wanted to share that story, y'all.
Design and entertainment said something about in the wine country in Northern California, they use in the nature parks, they use ropes to help with the wine.
Oh,
Huh.
interesting. Like ropes, like ROPE. Did I
Yeah,
hear you right?
it's
Okay.
yeah. The
Interesting.
way
So you
the
would just follow the rope. That's
I like
legitimate. That's
that.
brilliant. Yeah, I mean, works. Anything that works. I mean, we're not picky usually. Hey, I feel like most of us in the blind VIP, like, because closed captioning is on everything, but you don't have audio description. Or you'll go to a classroom and the teacher's like, okay, it's going to be a video day,
yeah.
and it's always the visually impaired child that's in the back saying, oh great, I get to be lost today again.
Yeah.
And so I feel like most of the time, if you meet us halfway,
Mm-hmm.
man, like, you're already you're golden. Like, you've
Yeah.
put forth the effort, because there's so many occasions that I feel like we feel like no one even makes an effort to accommodate. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Ropes work, man. We'll take it.
Now, as far as accessibility, like if you're flying, it's been my experience that if you call the airline ahead of time before
Mm-hmm.
your flight, like let's say a week,
Uh-huh.
uh, and then tell them that you need assistance, then you're locked in, and they'll have somebody there waiting for you when
Yeah.
you
Yes,
when
you
you
can.
arrive. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, if you're one of those, I have traveled by myself, and I have tried to explain to them because that it is so kind of frustrating because they automatically want to put you in a wheelchair. And I've explained to them, no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, no, no,
That doesn't
save the
really
wheelchair.
bother me though, because
Yeah,
it's
But
so
you don't need
fast.
it.
It's so fast.
yes,
Cindy,
it
it's
is.
fast.
It
You're in
is
and out.
fast.
I've had assistants take me places in an airport I would never have guessed, like shortcuts.
Yes,
And
that's
all of a
true.
sudden we're there, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool.
And
You know, we
I have done that, especially when I had kids. I would end up putting both the kids on my lap, and I'm like, okay, now you can wheel us because it was a fun ride for them. But
yeah.
prior to having kids, I would let them know I'm disabled, but I would say, hey, save the wheelchair for those who need it, but you just
Yeah.
walk with me. Just walk with
But
me because I
yeah,
can
but
walk.
yeah,
So
yeah, but
I've done it both ways.
here's the deal. Do you know why they do that, Cindy?
Wow.
Because they want they don't want that person tied up all day. So it's faster for them for putting you in a wheelchair,
Oh,
get you through security and
interesting.
get to the gate so that they can do other things.
Got
It's
it.
really not about you, it's about them and the
Thank you,
efficiency and
sir.
speed.
That
That's
And
is
what it's
I,
about.
so
So
true.
don't take offensive of it. It's just a tool that the
Right.
airport uses for efficiency and speed.
okay,
I
and I get that. I
I
want to play devil's
appreciate that.
advocate. I want to play devil's advocate because
Go, Lauren.
some people don't like being in a wheelchair because it feels
Well, if they don't,
confined.
then they walk and they'll deal with it. But really, you're clogging up their time by doing that because there's no way you can walk as fast as they can push that thing. I'm telling you.
Some people
They
can.
do fly with those things,
They
don't
fly
they?
with those
They
things. They
do.
fly. I mean, I've
They
got
do.
long hair, and my hair is like flying, like I'm on a motorcycle. You know, so they're moving. I mean, sometimes I'll feel my stomach like drop. You know, like whoa, wow, she's going fast or he's going fast. You know, and
Yeah.
it's just you're first in the security line, and then
Yes.
you are right there, and then they put you back on the chair, and then they wheel you to the gate. And
Right.
sometimes, maybe 2 out of 10 times, they know a shortcut, and they'll
Yeah.
take you where only employees are allowed.
And so I think it's one of those things, Lauren, you have to kind of use your best judgment and your best assessment. There's been times I've been on a lot of flights, y'all. There's been times when wheelchairs have been short and those who need the
Yes.
physical, they have to
Yeah.
wait for them to take them to their destination, then come back with a chair. And those are the situations, Paul, when I'm like, hey, I can
Yeah.
physically,
Let's walk.
you know
Yeah.
what?
Just yeah.
Yeah.
I have even get this. This is an interesting story, and I can't remember if it was in this country or in a different country, but I've traveled a lot. But the so they had one person, and he was in charge of three people. And so
I
I'm
Wow.
like,
remember this. Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I don't need a chair. And he's like, oh, good, you can push one. I said, "Oh no, sir. I'm probably the last person that needs to push a wheelchair plus my luggage."
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
gonna
he's
run
like,
over to the
no, he's like,
wall.
no, you got it. You just follow me. Like I could tell. He was like, no,
hmm
we don't have an
hmm
option, ma'am. I don't care if you have to follow my voice. Like he did not. He was like, no, so, trust me, you need to do this. And so I was like, okay. So he like piled up as much luggage on these wheelchairs as possible. I'm
hmm
like pulling one
They
behind
work
me
hard. They
and
work hard.
pushing. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, talk about the blind leading the blind here. It was like
Wow.
it was an interesting experience, and I had to keep up with him. Paul, like you said, he was flying. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm scared I'm gonna
Yeah.
like
They
mow
they got
someone
things
over
to
with a
do.
wheelchair. Yeah,
Yeah, they got things to do, and you know what? It might be close to their lunch break, and if they
yeah,
don't get that lunch break right now, they might not get it till later, and they gotta move fast.
yeah,
They got a job to do.
yeah,
So that's why they have them. At
yeah.
least that's what I've been told.
Well, just to recap, guys, I'm going to kind of transition into some hobbies, but just to recap on vacations, of course, we all typically love the beach. West Coast for more cooler temperatures, but the sand in our on our feet, hearing the ocean waves, food is always a very wonderful thing to experience as well, but it just provides, it entertains a lot of our other senses on the beach than the vision. But generally, you can also get a little bit more accessibility options in the bigger cities. So definitely hit up some of those bigger areas that have maybe some historical value. Check out some of the horse and buggy kind of like guided tours, and be verbal, be communicative with any guides or anyone that you need to be to help make sure everyone's on the same page and gives you the accessibility that you need to improve and have a full awesome experience as anyone else. And encourage your people to do whatever sighted activities that they could do, but brainstorm together. Hey, how can we make this fun for everyone? Whether it means
Mm-hmm.
blindfolding them, or
Hmm.
whether it means, hey, maybe I get to team up with a 3-year-old and the 3-year-old, and I can maybe beat every adult here. I mean, just be creative, but be creative together as a group, and I promise it will decrease some of that awkwardness on vacations. Do you guys have any other wrap up tips there before we move on to hobbies?
I would definitely say to make sure you research the area that you're going and
Yes.
try to get some feedback from other people that have been there before, because they might have some suggestions for you that you might not have considered.
That is an awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. We didn't even talk about that. Yeah, if you go on Facebook, Facebook has like a bajillion blind
Yes.
VIP support groups. All you got to do
Yeah.
is post a question there. Hey, has anyone been to this area? What should I do to plan, or what kind of accessibility options are there that I need to look into ahead of time? Awesome
And
tip there.
also, I believe Facebook has an events tab, and you can punch in any town
Oh
in the country,
yeah.
and then look up events in
Yes.
Facebook about the area. Also, that's a good tip. Um,
Yes, and if it's in
yeah.
events too, and it like building an amphitheater
Hmm.
theater, or
Hmm.
whatever, by law they all have to have proper accessibility, whether it's a elevator or a
Hmm. Hmm.
braille or anything like that. So that's an awesome tip, Paul. Yeah.
And what Lisa and I've been doing recently over the past few years, um, is we've been doing Airbnbs lately. Um,
Yes.
when you find an Airbnb, chances are, you have a little kitchenette for something small, so you don't have to eat out every day. If you're, sticking around for 2 or 3 days exploring a town, an Airbnb is perfect for that, because the
Yeah.
person that's hosting that Airbnb, they live there and they know the
Right.
community, and they're there to help you blend in and explore their community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you reach out to them ahead of time and say, "Hey, I'm visually impaired," you all will be
Absolutely.
able to, they'll be able to accommodate you more because they're in the loop. I feel like a lot of blind VIPs kind of don't always advocate for themselves, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's a really difficult hurdle for some of us. But
Yes, absolutely. We need to bring that gap together between the sighted and the
yes,
non-sighted.
that's right.
We're both the same. We both love the same things. It's just we happen to have a disability, and
Right.
and and we're both shy, and we're both afraid, and all this other stuff. We need to break that, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to
Right.
first of all educate so that the
Yes.
sighted understand, and then at the same time we need to reciprocate that and not have an attitude, and just accept things with blessings, and not have an attitude,
Amen.
and just express it that way, because there are people out there that are very sincere and want to help you, and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden will just grab your arm or your back and try to guide you, and 9 times out of 10 that's not good for a blind individual, and you have to. Some people might have an attitude with that, but when that happens with me, I kind of just shriek a little bit, but I explain if it's a problem for me. I just visually explain it. That
Mm-hmm.
startles me. Please do not do that. This is the right
Yeah.
way to approach me. But you know what, Cindy? 9 times out of 10, people just automatically ask questions, and that's awesome.
Yes.
That's the way to do it. Can you
Yeah.
see? What can you see?
Right.
A lot of them just say, follow my voice.
Mhm.
That's an invitation for you to communicate with them, to let them know, because they're,
Right.
you know, they, they're not you. So you need to, help bridge that gap also. So,
I
and
feel like
that's what
too,
the
a
blind
lot of
community
us,
is about. So,
yeah, and I feel like like some people are just like, oh, it's that I see it from both sides, but sometimes
mhm.
some of us get tired of answering the same questions over and over. And when we go on
Yeah,
vacation, it's
yeah,
kind of like, hey, can I get a vacation for my blind VIP
yeah,
life too?
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but at the
And this
same
is
time,
where
it's like
patience comes
unfortunate.
in.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's like you're not going to have a vacation away from the blind VIP
Yeah,
questions until you just tackle it and get it out of the way
yeah.
first
Right.
and then enjoy because everyone's got to be on the same page. All right, guys. So tell me, hobbies. What were your hobbies,
Hobbies.
young
Yeah.
in life with sight and now without? What do you think? Lauren, why don't you go first this time?
It's kind of interesting. I think depending on what your hobbies are, they can kind of be both.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like for example, I thought like before I lost a lot of my vision. I really enjoyed playing video games. That's something that's very visual. But
Mm.
there are some video games that you can still play that focus heavily more on the sound than like the gameplay itself, and those type of video games are more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And another good example that kind of ties into that is card games. Um, I think cards are more easier to make accessible, especially with like braille or some way to make them tactile.
Mm-hmm.
Playing cards.
Yeah, like Uno
Yeah.
cards, playing cards.
Hmm.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. There's braille ones, there's large print ones, there's color coded ones, there's all kinds of playing cards. I'll try to if I can think about it.
That would
Or
make a
if it
good video, Cindy.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think I only have like one really large deck, but it's gotten to the point where I can't even see that
Well, I'm wondering
anymore.
if you can
But
just shop around and then kind of find some things on Amazon and do a
yep.
video like you did for kitchen gadgets,
Oh
but with
yeah.
playing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
but with
should.
playing cards.
I should. I was thinking about doing one for, all kinds of just different miscellaneous stuff on the house. It's actually, I've got so much Paul on my to-do list. Like I was going to get ready to do a
See, I'm putting
Dollar
you to
Tree
work.
haul. I was getting like accessible, like
Oh.
things from the Dollar Tree and how you can make those things accessible. Like instead of buying like bump dots, get puff stickers. Or I've got such a huge list, but one of them was Amazon must-haves for the house and like things like
Right.
that. And yeah, it's on my
I
to-do
remember you
list.
did
But
kids' toys one time. That was a good
yeah, yeah, but since toddler, I need to update that one. But yeah, I I have a list a mile long. I've got a lot of work ahead of
one.
me. Y'all, I've got so much to do.
She's
And my
like, I
kids
need to
never get
clone myself.
I
I
know
just
my
have
kids
like
never
one
give
take
me
care of the
time to
kids, and
work
then
on
I
it.
can do YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Um Yeah, so I'm right there with you, but playing cards is definitely a good one. I mean, gosh, my mom, she can like play solitaire for like 3 hours straight. She's so good.
Wow.
Um, what else, Paul? What are some of yours?
Well, it's what's pretty funny is um, just a brief history. Um, I was married for 20 years. I ended up getting divorced at uh, what's it been 12 years, 13 years now. And
Uh-huh.
after my divorce, I met Lisa, and Lisa and I have been together now for over 10 years. I think it
Yay.
was 11 last February. So um, I never had a hobby ever.
I don't believe
Really?
you.
And, and Lauren,
Not even like listening to music?
I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, but Lisa was saying the same thing, and she's like, "What? How does somebody not have a hobby?" I said, "I don't really have a hobby. I mean, I like listening to music. That could be a hobby, I guess, but
That is
really,
a
Yeah, it
hobby.
I
totally
never
is.
really technically had a hobby." And she's like, "Well, we're gonna have to find you a hobby." So,
Yes.
interesting story is I started getting into meditation and listening to meditation music, and a whole different
That's right. You play the
lifestyle that
Indian
I
flute too.
yeah. So I brought for show and tell. Here's one right here. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up very good. It's
Well,
right there.
describe it to us.
It's this one is a walnut in the key of D,
Okay.
Native American flute,
Cool.
and it's about maybe 2.5 feet long,
Yep. They
and it
have
has
a
a little
beautiful, gorgeous sound. You'll have to play
yeah.
a few notes for us.
And then also I have another one here that's in the key of A, and it's just made out of pine. Um,
Do the
and this
woods,
one,
does the different woods give them different
yes,
timbres? Yeah.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Even though you are in the same key, they still sound different. One made out of cherry is sounds different than one out of, let's say, pine or walnut or etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I mean you really can get crazy. I mean with the different kinds.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I have
Have you
I have 5 of them right now. So this is my hobby. I play the Native American flute, and it's a very easy
Yeah.
instrument to learn. But
It
I
is.
started doing it before I became officially legally blind. But I didn't spend a lot of time on it. But then when I became legally blind and I could not work anymore, I had all the time in the world, and now I just play. I just play all the time.
There you go.
My degree is in music, and I was a music therapist before I was a mom,
Hmm.
and I kind of made one of the mistakes where music was one of my hobbies and passion and loves in life, and then I made the mistake of making it my career, and
Yeah, yeah.
and so next thing you know, the thing that I loved became it emptied
It
my
became work.
well.
Yeah.
Yes, it became work, and I was a pediatric oncology music therapist for 5 years, and
Wow.
um, so I watched a lot of very sick children, and I helped a lot of very sick kids, but it it drained my well, if you will, and I no longer had time to enjoy my
Right.
music. I was doing everyone else's, and but I saw in so many different conferences and so many different wonderful artists in my career as a music therapist with the Native American flutes and different ensembles of flutes and the beautiful sounds that they make when they come together is just I admire
Yeah.
you for that because not too many people, especially today, a lot of people have like gone to the whole trendier, like, oh, I play the ukulele,
Hmm.
Yeah.
fantastic instrument, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
native flute you don't hear
Lisa's
it too
laughing over
often
here.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's very spiritual.
yes,
So,
yes. It's
so
very
it
grounding.
yeah. So Lisa kind of nudged me in that direction,
Awesome.
and
Good job,
and
Lisa.
I bought my first one before I went legally blind, and I was playing around with it for a little bit for a few years. Then I became legally blind, and then I started playing more, and I'm like, you know what? I want to get a different one. Let's see what this one sounds like. Next, I have 5 of them, and one of them is Lisa bought for me for Christmas. Was
Oh,
this
that's
this one the
special.
one?
That's awesome.
It's a high spirits flute in the key of D.
D is a very, very positive key.
Yeah,
And D
I
and A
resonate
complement
with
each
D
other
a
very
lot.
well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
one of my favorite flutes to play.
yeah.
And my neighbors don't seem to much mind because I'm in like a like a rural area a little bit. I got farms
Mm-hmm.
all around me, but we have subdivisions of, 250, 300 people together in certain areas. And so
Mhm.
at night, the acoustics in my
I
neighborhood
bet.
are amazing at 3 o'clock in the
Wow.
morning.
Oh,
So
I
I'll play this at three
bet.
o'clock in the morning. And there's some people getting early and going on their way to work, and they're typing in Facebook groups of all the neighborhoods that we have in Facebook
Yeah.
around here, neighborhood watch groups and all kinds of stuff uh, locally. And they were like, "What is that beautiful music I was hearing this morning on the way to work?" It made their day. And so that
Aw.
I like doing that. I
That's
like playing
nice.
and just sending
Yeah.
that energy out there
Yeah.
Yeah.
to just like heal and just
I think
peace.
it's never too late to learn a hobby that not only fulfills us and fills our well and renews
Mhm.
us, but it's even more beneficial, and it even like just gives it's even more beautiful of a hobby to discover blind when it serves other people like that,
Hmm.
Paul. And I think that is a beautiful inspiration for anyone to get out there. Learn any instrument. It doesn't have to be the native flute. It's a very easy one to pick up, so I do recommend it. But I mean, the ukulele, I mean, or just join your church choir even,
Right.
that kind of stuff. Um, it are
I cannot read music at all.
You don't have to. You don't have
And
to.
I learned
Just do your
everything
own
on
thing.
this flute because it's a very simple scale. It's on a
Mhm.
pentatonic scale. So
Yep. So
pentatonic
no
is the
wrong
root.
notes.
Yeah, and so it's a little easier to play. And
Mhm.
usually the instrument is so magical that it actually plays itself. You know,
Yeah.
eventually, when you learn the basics of where to put your fingers, and you can do whatever you want with the fingers as long as you're just going up and down. You can't just jump from one area to the other and have your finger in the middle. You have to gradually go up and down the scale.
Yeah.
And each note is in harmony no matter how you play it. And that's what's
Yeah.
magical about it.
Yeah.
So, and
It's a
then you just
very
get
beautiful
lost. You
instrument.
just get lost in it.
Yeah. And listening too, I'm sure. Lauren,
Yeah.
now you're a writer. Were you always a writer?
Um, I don't think so. I think that I've always enjoyed reading and drawing inspiration from stories that I've read. I kind of wanted to pass that on to other people.
Yeah. Do you do anything else, like outside the house or anything?
Um, I've been trying to explore new activities that are around me, especially since I have recently lost a lot more of my vision.
Yeah.
Um, but last week I went with a couple of people that were also blind, and we went axe throwing.
Oh,
You
wow.
went what?
Yeah,
What was it
axe
called?
axe throwing.
Oh, axe throwing. Now
Yeah,
there's a blind event fun.
No kidding.
it was safe. Nobody got hurt. I still have
Good.
all 10 of my fingers.
It's so funny. My neighbors, one of their sons had like got a bow and arrow or something for his birthday,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, Cindy, you should come, shoot a bow and arrow." And I'm like, "Oh no, don't like
Yeah,
trust me, like that's." But no,
you
I did it.
should
I
do
was like, "Oh,
it.
sure, okay," and it was so cathartic. Like I had no idea what was pointing this
Yes,
thing, but just feeling it like whipping, out of your hand it is so cathartic. Who
Mm.
cares if you can't see where it goes or where you're throwing it?
as
It's
long as you
fun,
don't hit anybody, you're
Well,
fine.
as long
right?
as there's
Yeah.
nobody in the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just four. I mean, scream. I mean, everyone get out of the way.
I mean,
um,
lawn darts were crazy when I was a kid. Those things were dangerous.
oh yeah, throwing darts. Oh
Yeah,
man,
the lawn darts, the big darts for the lawn.
I've never done that.
Huh.
It's kind of like horseshoes, but with darts.
Huh.
Yeah.
And you had a circle instead of a horseshoe pit. You had a circle, and you had to get the dart in the circle by throwing the dart in the air.
Oh, interesting.
That's
And
cool.
these things were like, sharp spikes, heavy steel. They were crazy. Those were when we were kids. We had some crazy toys. I'll tell you that.
One of the things that I picked up was when I was already visually impaired was knitting. So I love to knit. I am not an excellent knitter, but I definitely know enough that I could do some cool projects if I really set myself to it. But I always encourage a lot of people to pick up tactile things that you can do like that by feel. So I just do
Mhm.
all my knitting by feel. And it's so bizarre. Some people are like, oh, do you crochet too? And that's where I kind of draw the line. I feel like some people love to, you either are a crocheter or you're a knitter, but generally, do you find someone who
Yeah.
loves both equally? But I found crochet to be more visual for me for some reason. It just
Yeah,
frustrated me
I
more
was gonna
visually.
say, like, some people find one more easier than the other. That's probably why they don't
Yeah.
enjoy both.
Yeah. So yeah, I
The,
always
the
do.
design and entertaining is says I'm watching the waves crashing on the beach and the sailboats are coming in. There
Wow.
you
Oh,
go.
wow. That
That's the
sounds
place to be.
amazing.
Now, I thought I heard this person mention Newport Beach. So is that Newport, Oregon, or somewhere else? I'm
That's a
curious
good
if they're
question.
I'm curious if they're from Newport, Oregon, because if they are, then they're in the right spot.
Yeah,
Newport
and
is a beautiful area,
I have never been there.
and Newport
Interesting.
is an actual port, so that makes sense. The boats coming in, but unless
Yeah,
there's
Right.
a Newport Beach in Cali, I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if Kathleen is still with us or not from Design and Entertaining. I don't know. Let us know, girl.
Yeah,
Um,
let us know.
all right. Well, can you all think of any other hobbies that you would recommend? If not, I will go ahead and start wrapping it up. What do you all think? Any other hobbies? What if someone had sight and is now losing it? They've reached 20 over 200. They're legally blind and then some, progressive vision loss, all that jazz. And they're frustrated because what they used to do, they can no longer feel like they can do, at least on
Yeah.
the level that they used to. So, do you have any recommendations for anyone in that boat?
Um, I immensely miss driving. It was it
Yeah.
was it was so awesome when I was able to drive, and
Yeah.
that's the only unfortunate thing that I cannot do by myself. But I have Lisa or a friend or somebody. I own a vehicle. I own a pickup
Mm-hmm.
truck, a Ram 1500, cobalt blue. It's beautiful as heck. And
Aw.
if I got to go somewhere, somebody can drive it for me.
There you go.
Other than that, there's still don't. My suggestion to you is if you're new to blindness or you've been blind all your life and you probably have already figured it out, but if you're new to it, uh, understand that blindness does not define you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not your definition. Just because you say, "Hi, I'm Paul, I'm legally blind," and just leave it at that, that's not you. You need to,
Yeah.
be you and what you love. So regardless of your disability, you go out there and do it. I always had to
Yeah.
prove myself even before I became legally blind. Technically, I had a disability because I was blind in one eye
Right.
and I could see out of the other, but I still had limitations, just barely enough to drive.
Yeah.
And work in heavy machinery, and you just if you do something and it doesn't work out, you stop, you don't do it anymore, and you try to adjust and do something different. And if that doesn't work, then you find something else.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then eventually you will find things that you can do a lot and have new hobbies, whatever. Don't
Yeah.
dwell on your disability. dwell on your ability, which is
Amen.
right here in your head
Yeah.
and
Very
your
And,
heart
much.
and your heart.
and I think it also helps to try and find community groups or networks. I mean,
Yes,
just your
Yeah.
social
absolutely.
media alone, like if you if you are passionate enough about something, you enjoy something, there's obviously going to be somebody else that has a disability that enjoys that. It might not be the same as yours, but in a way, they're still going to understand what you're going through. Um,
Right.
your
And
question made
through
me think
those
of.
sorry to interrupt you, Lauren, but like
You're
through those
fine.
groups is usually when you can discover hobbies because they'll start talking
Yeah.
about, oh, this is what I used to do or what I love to do now, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you have a teacher right there that can help you learn a new hobby,
Mhm.
So reaching out to
Yeah.
your support system can really help you find, something new in your sight loss journey too.
Yeah, and it kind of goes with what I was gonna say of like, so before I lost my vision, I enjoy going to art museums, and that's
Huh?
something that's highly visual. And
Yeah.
my friend suggested me to reach out to those museums about either like a audio or like a guided tour,
Yes.
and that way they
Yes.
can describe to you the things that you can't see.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's most museums always have some kind of audio tour and I'm trying to think of the travel guy that travels all over. I'm like blanking I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. This is how tired I'm always tired when I'm doing live streams and so I don't think straight, but it'll come to me in just a minute.
You're a mom.
Um
You're always tired.
yeah, that's the truth. Well, I won't dispute that. Um but I'm trying to think of his name. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, he's like this, big tourist guy. He posts videos. He's the one that organizes, all kinds of trips and all this stuff for you, and you just sign up. But anyway, his name will come to me in just a minute. I can't believe I'm blanking on it. But anyway, he
Was he
actually
like on the Travel Channel or something?
he kind of has his own series of shows, and he's like all over like
Yeah.
Wikipedia at like um travel. Yes, I
I
mean
think I know who you're talking about,
Rick
but I can't
Steves,
think of
that's
his.
it. Rick
Oh,
Steves.
oh, Rick Steves. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so Rick Steves now, so he has an app, and on his app, I think it's an app, but I'll have to research what it is, but somehow he posts audio tours for pretty much all the museums and towns that he
Huh.
exposes people to, and he has really good audio descriptions. I found his stuff, especially going through the Louvre and through some of the bigger world famous museums and such. The audio tours were excellent. So definitely, yeah. I wouldn't let just because it's a visual museum to stop you because now there are so many great audio options that keep you in tune with what's going on in those places. That's
Yeah.
a good one, Lauren.
I think Gene and Mark said that Newport Beach is in Southern Cal,
Okay, there you go.
but
Question
but
answered.
but that was Gene and Mark. But the question was to designs.
Design and entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully,
So it sounds
yeah,
like
they,
there's two Newport beaches.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Newport, Oregon too. So that one is really nice.
All right.
Um, so I know you probably want to wrap this up. Do you want me to play a little bit, or are we just gonna end?
Sure, sure. Yeah,
How
let's
many
hear a
people?
few
Anybody?
notes.
Anybody in the chat want me to play? Give it a thumbs
Yeah.
up.
You can give some thumbs up, some smiley
We had
faces. We still
we
have like, I don't know,
we had
10, 12, 13 people in here.
yeah. At one point you were at 14,
Oh,
and now
wow.
Nice.
you're at 11. So you're
Okay.
doing good.
All right. Stick with us,
Um,
guys. Let's hear some of
you
the
have
Native American flute.
you have 10 likes currently. So hit that
Oh,
like button.
yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
simply
awesome. Thank
helps
you,
with the
Paul.
algorithm so that everyone can
Yeah.
see Cindy more. Right?
Aw,
Okay. So
thanks, Paul.
all right, all right. Let me see if I'm on the spot now. So There you go.
Yay! I
Yay!
just typed in so peaceful. That
So
is
pretty.
wonderful. Yeah.
And
All
what's
right, Lauren.
interesting is,
Now you're on the spot. Your turn.
yeah.
What?
What? No one told me this was a test.
Yeah.
I know,
Nobody told me.
right?
Nobody told me that was gonna turn to open mic night.
Yeah, you didn't know it was going to be a live concert, huh? Okay.
No.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was
Well,
wonderful. That's
that's
beautiful.
just
You
my
all got to
gift
go
there.
subscribe to
Yeah,
Paul.
that's
Paul,
just my. Go
you
ahead.
need to make some videos of just
You
playing.
playing? Yeah.
I do have some that are not specifically labeled as Native American flute, but I do have guys videos, and I at the end I play,
Yeah.
as a surprise. But it's more of a surprise. So come on over to my channel and
There
watch
you
all my
go.
videos, and you'll see me
Yeah.
play on
Yeah.
one of them. And then eventually I will probably do some more. Yes, absolutely.
There you
Great.
go.
So
All right,
that
Lauren.
was just something for everyone. It was just my
Yeah.
love to you guys.
Aw.
Peace and love to the world, everyone. And I
Thank
thank
you,
you for
Paul.
having me so much. I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
So nice.
That is awesome. Thank you, Paul. That was beautiful.
You're welcome.
All right, Lauren.
What? What's
Wrap
happening?
us up. What? Sorry, my bad.
You got
I'm
the
still in
floor. You
that
got the
blissful
floor, Lauren.
moment that Paul put me in. That I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
someone else
sorry.
talk now. I'm like still in my
I
peaceful
just put
moment.
everyone to
Yeah.
sleep.
um,
I feel like you could have tied that in with like some meditation.
Yeah,
We could
yeah,
have had like some guided stretches and then had him play that. That would have been
yeah.
there you
cool.
go. There you go.
Maybe that's an idea.
Well,
Maybe I'll
There
make
you go,
that.
Paul. I'm just giving you free content for your channel. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
but no, Lauren, what would you wrap up? What would you want to send everybody off with this evening?
I would say to try to find time in the day, whether it's when you wake up in the morning or when you wake up in the evening. This is something I just started trying to do. Is
Oh,
to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Because I
oh
think a lot
yeah.
of times that we get wrapped up in negative headspace
Mm-hmm.
and just stressed by everything that's happening in life, we don't realize how many things that we are grateful for.
Yes. Amen. That is
Gratitude goes a long way.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And the more gratitude you have, the better things that happen to you.
That's
Believe it or
right.
not.
You find more
Believe it or
beauty
not.
in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you all so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
this evening. I hope someone got some inspiration for vacations and got, that extra motivation to make one hopefully happen for you this year. And maybe we also inspired you to find a new hobby, pick up an instrument, anything, or
Yeah.
get into writing. You guys join Lauren on Divided by Sight. She does some really awesome writing sprints. I caught one the other night and I was just amazed. I am not a writer, but it
Aww.
was so fun to just kind of sit back and enjoy the magic there. So you all check out their channels. They are linked in the description box down below, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys hopefully next week for another blind community chat. Thank you all so much for joining
Yay.
Absolutely.
us.
All
Thank
right. Thank you,
you.
Cindy. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.